Today, let's look at the 1-2 striking combo. How well do you really know it? The martial arts is like an onion. Even after years of practicing the basics, there are layers to it. You can keep perfecting, finding things to make better, make it more powerful, faster, more efficient, more relaxed, more balanced, okay? So that's what we're gonna look at today. Let's look at it. First of all, what I want to say about any kind of punching is that your power doesn't come from your arms. That's the first mistake people make. They think they have to hit, it's all coming from their arms, all their punches. They're trying to hit with their muscle power. Your arms are the last thing in the equation. They're just a snap at the end. Power comes from the bottom and works its way up through the body. So what does that mean? Let's break it down. From your stance, probably the most basic footwork you'll learn is just a little step with your front foot as you throw the jab and then follow with the cross and pull it back to stance, okay? We'll get into some other footwork later. First of all, let's just take it from there, okay? So you're gonna jab, stepping forward, and then push, rotating the hip for a cross and pull back. Now, the power in this movement comes from first your feet pushing into the floor. The floor is your friend. Use it, okay? You should be pushing off, especially with that back foot. The ball of your foot should push into the floor, driving your front step, and then pushing again to drive your hip, rotate this hip explosively, okay? Your heel should come off the floor to allow your hip to fully rotate, okay? So I'm pushing with the ball of my foot and snapping my hip, okay? Your knees should turn in a little bit, okay? If you come from a karate background, think about Sanshin Dachi, okay? Think about your knees being pointed in, okay? This kind of position. Your knees are pointing in, your thighs are squeezing together, okay? It's a bit like that, okay? Not quite so exaggerated. But think about that concept of turning this knee in and squeezing this knee in as well. Don't let this knee open out. It'll screw up your balance. So this knee is squeezing in, this leg's squeezing in this way, and this leg's squeezing in this way, creating a really solid base and keeping your body nice, centered, balanced, okay? And allowing for a full hip rotation, okay? What you don't want to do is turn this knee out when you punch. And you'll see a lot of beginners might do this when they have their knee turned out. This is just stopping my hips from rotating. And if my foot's flat on the floor, it's just terrible, okay? So pick that heel off the floor, push with the ball of your foot, rotate that, turn that knee in a little bit, and rotate your hips. And make that snap. Snap with the hips. That's the first part of the power equation, that hip rotation, okay? So let's look at the difference between a bad hip rotation and a good hip rotation and how this affects not only your power, but your reach, okay? If I'm just punching with my arms and I'm not rotating my waist and I'm not lifting my heel up and I'm not turning my knee in, my punch may look like this. Okay, this is me rotating my hips as much as I can from this position, okay? It doesn't go any further, okay? But look, if I pick my heel up and I turn my knee in and I sink down a little bit, look at the difference from here to here, here to here, okay? It's that little bit more rotation, that little bit more length, and more power as well. So from the floor, you push, you rotate your hip. The next part is the snap of the shoulders, okay? if you come from a traditional martial arts background, you might be used to pulling your arm when you punch. Karate especially, pulling to the hip. These are bad habits that you have to fix. This leaves me wide open to get countered, okay? Your hand, opposite hand, always needs to be protecting your face. Always needs to pull back to here. But at first you may feel like, but I feel like I need to pull that hand to get the power. And even non-traditional martial artists do this naturally. They just pull this hand back to help them with their power. Man, they leave themselves wide open. Okay? Instead of pulling with your hands, you want to pull with the opposite shoulder of the hand you're throwing and punch with. Okay? I want to pull this shoulder back. I'm getting that same pull, but I'm keeping this free hand either at my temple or at least at my chin, ready to protect myself if need be. Okay? So if you look at me from the front, when I throw my one, boom, and I come with the two, boom, I've got maximum rotation in my hips. I've got my face protected, and I'm a small target. Now also, if you can turn your fist down just a little bit of a screw, it helps to bring your shoulder up. And you want to put that shoulder and hit yourself in the side of the jaw with it. Bam! And tuck your chin. So my eyes looking straight down my arm, okay? This is keeping my jaw protected on this side, and my head is protected on the other side. So look at what a small target I am now to get counterpunch. There's a little bit of an area up here. In this case, we're gonna work on defenses after this, okay? But this is a lot better than this, which is what a lot of people are doing when they throw it straight, okay? So work on getting nice and tight. Hit that jaw with your own shoulder. Pull back your fist to your temple. And bam, bam. And back to guard. Bam, bam. Back to guard. Now the jab is your setup, okay? So it doesn't need to be a power punch. It doesn't need to be a hard hitting jab. It just needs to connect, okay? It needs to be fast, okay? So you don't have to put too much hip into it. Sometimes if you want to throw a hard jab, you have to snap your hip into it a little bit. But with this one, you're just setting up the two. So you just want to throw it out, nice and relaxed. So your arms are nice and relaxed. You're snapping it out. Maybe a little bit of a snap of your shoulder will help give it more speed, a little bit more punch to it. It's just a snap of the shoulder. Bam, bam. And you add that to your jab and it's like bam, okay? Bam, a little snap of the shoulder, okay? But you want to be focusing on hitting with the second punch. So this is just your setup. So don't get too carried away with trying to hit hard with your jab, okay? So after hitting with your jab, you want that two to come in straight away. You don't want there to be too long a pause between your two punches. You don't want to be a It shouldn't be a doof, doof. It should be a dun dun, dun dun, okay? So you want to aim to shorten the time between your jab and your straight hand hitting. Dun dun, dun dun. Okay, your arms, they're the last part of the equation. Your arms need to be relaxed as possible. Think of it as a whip, where there's just a whip and a snap at the end. Keep your hand nice and loose. Well, not too loose, but keep it in a fist, but just loosely when you're throwing your punches. And just at the last moment of impact is when you clench your fist hard. This would be like at the end of the whip going bam! That's when you clench your fist. If you try to clench up too much as you're throwing, it makes you naturally tense your muscles and it slows you down, okay? You want to be loose like jelly, okay? Your arms are just whipping out there. There's a just whip them out, okay? Don't try to muscle it. That'll slow you down and make you easy to read. One thing about your arms is to remember not to let your elbows flare out, okay? This slows you down, makes your punching motion bigger, takes away your power, and it also gives a little bit of a read that a punch is coming to an experienced fighter, okay? So you don't want to flare your elbows out as you punch, okay? You want to keep them in and drive it straight down the middle, okay? Straight down the middle. Keep your elbow in, boom, it's one line, okay? The other thing is don't pull your hand back before your punch, okay? Everybody does this at first because you want to hit hard, right? So you got to pull his hand back to give it some momentum. You're gonna, okay? But that just shows that a punch is coming. Anyone with experience will see that coming a mile away, okay? Your punch has to come straight from your guard. Boom, straight from here. Boom! All the power is coming from your legs, your hips, your shoulder, okay? You don't want to be pulling your hand back, okay? So straight from God, boom, boom. It will feel strange at first because you're trying to punch with your arms. But once you get used to punching with your lower body, using that snap to drive the power, it'll start to make sense, okay? So for those beginners, that's a key point to work on first. Okay, now let's look at some footwork. So, your opponent's not just gonna always be standing right there in front of you. You gotta get in, get to him, okay? That's where footwork comes in. And footwork also adds to the power of your punch. If you put your body in motion, that motion is gonna add to the power, okay? So, we wanna step in. When you step in, again, you're pushing off the ball of your foot, that back foot, okay? You're stepping with your front foot first, and then you're pulling your back leg in behind you, okay? You don't want to drag your foot. This is the worst. What happens if you try to drag your foot? You end up doing this. You end up leaning forward, reaching. I'm out of balance. I'm likely to get countered, and it's hard for me to recover. It's hard for me to check. It's hard for me to continue with another punch after that, okay? So, as you step forward, pop. This back leg's gotta come in, okay? You wanna be a pop, like that. And notice my heel is up off the ground. This is helping me to be more mobile, and it's preparing me to really push and fire my straight punch, okay? So, work on this slowly first. 1, 2. 1, 2, okay? Gradually speed it up. 1, 2. Yeah. Pop. Pop. Okay, so you drive off, that powers your jab, and your foot's here to power again for the straight punch. Okay, 1, 2. 1, 2. Notice with this footwork, my legs are always underneath me, underneath my shoulders. Okay, that's where you want your feet to be generally when you're striking, okay? You don't want to be spreading your stance out wide, okay? This makes it harder for you to move, okay? It's a lot harder to move quickly in different directions when your feet are really wide apart. Now, if you're up against a really good wrestler, you may have to widen your stance a little bit to prepare for takedowns, but you don't want to overdo it, okay? And you want your feet to move with you wherever you go. You want your feet staying underneath your body, okay? Always underneath your shoulders. Bam, 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 bam. Okay? Focus on that. Don't ever let your feet drag around. Don't let them drag around, especially your back foot. You stay on your toes, on the balls of your feet to give yourself explosive power. And your weight should always be distributed evenly on both feet. You don't want to be leaning forward on your front foot or back on your back foot. You want to be right in center so either foot can move. So I throw my 1, 2, my feet come in, and I'm right in the center. My back foot and my front foot can both pick up easily in case I have to check a kick. Bam, bam, up. Okay? Bam, bam, up. If you can't pick either foot up quickly, it's because your weight is too much on one foot or the other, okay? So it's a good way to check your balance and your weight distribution is when you practice throwing your 1, 2, is to throw a check with either leg, okay? Make sure either one can come up equally as easily, okay? another little tip about footwork, and this one comes from my karate background, and that is using this springing energy, using the floor, this bouncy energy. Now, I'm not talking about how you see, for example, Taekwondo fighters fight when they're very bouncy up and down like this. This is really good for high kick style fighting, where they're using the explosive energy to explode into their kicks, okay? Problem is, when you add sweeps and takedowns in, when you're up in the air, it makes you very susceptible for losing your balance, getting swept, getting taken down. It's harder to defend against sweeps and takedowns, okay? So I'm not talking about bouncing up. I'm talking about sinking down, okay? Imagine your legs are like the suspension of a car. It's compressing and expanding like this. And when you bend your knees, you make your knees nice and soft. They're nice and soft and springy, okay? But I'm not jumping up in the air. I'm sinking and rising, sinking, rising, sinking, rising. Okay, this type of momentum. I can like rock backwards and forwards. I can move side to side. Okay, I can put this in with forward movement. I can add it into sideways to rotational movement. Okay, I've always got this bouncy, squishy feeling in my knees. The reason being, from this compressed position, you're more explosively able to fire forward, okay? Rather than just going like a straight step, if I'm compressed, boom, I can explode into it. Like a spring, boing, okay? So I compress and explode. This is something that karate point fighters will use, this kind of movement, to do these kind of fast reverse punch attacks, okay? And I've incorporated that into my striking game, and I find it very useful. It's helped me to get faster, cover distance, and be in good balance at the same time. And make sure you're sinking at the end into that second punch, like sink into it. I'm down, I'm down. I'm sinking. Okay, I'm sinking into it. Okay, it's called sitting on your punches. Okay, that's what this means. Sinking into your punch, lowering your center of gravity, keeping a firm, solid, balanced base to hit from. Okay, and also by sitting down, you're squeezing that suspension, you're loading that suspension in your legs again. That's going to enable you to explode again. Okay, if your legs are straight up and you're not sitting on your punches, it's harder to explode forward again. Your explosive movement is weaker. You can walk forward, okay, but you don't want to walk forward, you want to explode forward, okay? So by sitting on your punch, you're able to again explode forward into another combination, okay? If your opponent keeps backing up, it gives you the ability to follow him. Okay, so sitting on your punches, especially your right hand, will help you with your movement and stringing combinations together. And once you get good at that, just from a normal advancing footwork, then you can start to work it into moving around, okay? Look at disguising it a bit, because you can make yourself a little bit easier to read if you're doing this bouncing motion. Really good fighters will recognize that you're going to explode at that certain time. So you're adding footwork into it, you're adding head movement into it, but I'm constantly doing this squishing motion, okay? I'm disguising it, and bam! I attack explosively, quickly, and cover a good distance. I can look like I'm out of range, and I'm just moving and moving, bam, bam, and I'm in, okay? So there you have it, all the details on the 1-2 combo. If you got something out of this video, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And watch out for my follow-up videos where I look at the counters to the 1-2, how to avoid them, and set up your own counters.